Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is going to be episode 3 of the Healthcare Tales podcast. We're going to be looking at 2 articles today that have to do with health, both published within the last month or so. These are both actually pretty interesting, so I'm kind of looking forward to delving into these. The first one we're going to be talking about is about atrial fib, and the second one is going to be about sleeping. So let us begin, I guess. So the first one is from medicalnewstoday.com. Atrial fibrillation increases the risk of dementia, which I've never actually thought about, but totally 100% makes sense. So let us jump into this. So new evidence suggests, it's by Maria Kohut and published Thursday, October 11th, 2018, and it was fact-checked by Jasmine Collier. All right, now that we got that out of the way, back to it. New evidence suggests that atrial fib, in which the heart has an irregular beat, is linked to an increase of dementia. This knowledge, however, also indicates that a potential preventive strategy, research shows, which is cool. So, it was published in the Journal of Neurology. Research at I'm going to butcher this, Karolinska Institute and Stockholm University, which are in Sweden, explains that atrial fibrillation, or AFib, is linked with increased risk of developing dementia. In AFib, the heart atrium, which is the chamber that receives the blood and then sends it to the ventricles, so the top two. I'll throw up a picture of a heart and I'll circle which one the atria is. So these pump out to the rest of the body, that's the ventricles. So the atria beat irregularly. Because of this, the blood can pool inside the heart and form clots. Whenever blood is stagnant, it's no longer moving, it clots. It's like as soon as it stops, then the clotting process can begin. So so it forms clots, which then may later circulate to the brain and leads to a stroke. As you might not know, atrial fib is a huge cause of stroke. If you have atrial fib, your chances of getting a stroke is increased tenfold. The new study has found that AFib also increases the risk of another health problem as people age, namely dementia. However, this warning also comes with an encouraging solution. So compromised blood flow caused by atrial fibrillation may affect the brain in a number of ways. We know that as people age, the chance of developing AFib increases, as does the chance of developing dementia. So, AFib is linked with faster cognitive decline. In the study, they analyzed data from 2,685 participants, all average age of 73. All these participants were followed for an average of 6 years. So this seems quite extensive, which is great. It's good to see that they didn't sort of fuck around and use small numbers. This is a pretty good sample size, I'd have to say. The team interviewed each person and administered a medical exam and the baseline. Then again, after 6 years, the participants younger than 78, or once every 3 years in the case of participants older than 78 at the beginning of the study. None of the volunteers had dementia at the baseline, though 9% of all participants had been diagnosed with atrial fib. So that's 243 individuals had atrial fib. Over the following period, 11% of the total number of participants of the 279 developed AFib, and 15% of the cohort. Let me read that again. Over the following period, 11% of the total number of participants developed a fib, and 15% of the cohort received a diagnosis of dementia. So that's quite a bit, 15%. After analyzing the data, the research revealed the cognitive function, including thinking capacity and memory, of participants with AFib tended to deteriorate more rapidly in the case of people with healthy cardiovascular systems. Also, people with AFib had a 40% higher chance of developing dementia when compared with their healthy peers. 40%. So this is one study, right? It's not an end-all be-all sort of thing, but it's interesting to look at. So of the 2,163 participants without AFib, 10% were diagnosed with dementia. So, as for the 552 people with AFib, 23% developed dementia. Okay, so kind of interesting. Blood thinners may counteract risk. However, the team saw that participants with AFib who took blood thinners to prevent the blood clots had a 60% lower risk of developing dementia compared to those who did not take it. Of the 342 people who did not take the blood thinners, 22% developed dementia, while 128 who did not take blood thinners and only 11%. Okay. Here's a quote from one of the researchers. Assuming that there was a cause and effect relationship between the blood thinners and the reduced risk of dementia, we estimate that 54% of dementia cases would be hypothetically prevented if all the people with atrial fib had been taking blood thinners, which is very cool. I'd love to see this study redone and replicated. So, additional efforts should be made to increase the use of blood thinners among older people with AFib. Investigators nevertheless admit that the study faced some limitations, such as the fact that they did not distinguish among different subtypes of atrial fib, and certain participants with AFib may not have been diagnosed accordingly due to lack of symptoms. Okay, so I don't think they actually talked about potential thoughts behind why this could be, or at least the science. So maybe I'm going to delve into this. Like I said, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I can sort of think about why that would happen. So, with atrial fib, obviously, your blood is pooling, right? So clots could be shot out. But not only that, but your heart isn't functioning as well as it can because, well, it's stuttering, right? So maybe the heart's not sending as much blood. Maybe there's the lack of blood supply going to the brain is less than those who do not have atrial fib. And then with a lack of blood supply going to the brain, causes nerve damage, and then eventually causes dementia. Again, that's just sort of my thought and the rationale. Maybe it means something, maybe it doesn't. But nevertheless, I think it's important that this study be repeated because those are significant numbers. So that's pretty cool. I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know if there's ever been any studies done like this. I'm sure there has been, but nevertheless, very interesting indeed. Now for the second article. This one's about sleep, which, as a shift worker, everyone loves. Oh, just a good night's sleep. Everybody can appreciate that. So, this one is from, well, it's the website Science Daily, but it looks like they gave a source from Duke University Medical Center, date September 21st, 2018. So it's titled, "It's Not Just for Kids. Even adults appear to benefit from a regular bedtime." I totally agree with this. I feel better when I go to bed regularly at the same time and wake up at the same time. So adults with varied sleep-wake times way more have higher blood sugar and risk of disease. Okay. So a new study on sleep patterns suggests that a regular bedtime and wake time are just as important for heart and metabolic health among older adults. I'm not an older adult, but I'm going to consider this a suggestion, right? So in a study done of 1,978 older adults publishing September 21st in the Journal of Scientific Reports, research at Duke Health and Duke Clinical Research Institute found that people with irregular sleep patterns weighed more, had higher blood sugar, higher blood pressure, and higher projected risk of having a heart attack or stroke within 10 years of those who slept and woke at the same time every day. So that's kind of crazy. Just by making that one little change, you got to sleep anyway. So if you can, find it in yourself and have the discipline. I mean, some people don't, they're not able to because they have a job that states they can't, like myself, but just by making that little change reduces your risk, again, potentially. I don't want to make anybody think that these articles are a 100% because in science they need to replicate, they've got to repeat, and that's how people determine whether things are fact. They've got to be repeated. Irregular sleepers who were also more likely to report depression and stress than regular sleepers, both of which are tied to heart health. African American had the most irregular sleep patterns compared to participants who were white, Chinese American, or Hispanic, the data showed. So that's interesting. Why is that? I don't know. The finding shows an occasion, not a cause and effect relationship between sleep regularity and heart and metabolic health. So there we go. There's an association. Is it causation? Right? No. Well, again, they can't show that. From our study, we can't conclude that sleep irregularities results in health risks or whether health conditions affect sleep. That's very honest. Said Jessica Lunsford Avery, PhD, an assistant professor in psychiatry and behavioral science, and the study-led author. Perhaps all these things are impacting each other. That's very true, which is something I never thought of. Do these health problems cause you to stay up? Does that, are they the ones causing irregular sleeps? Or is it the other way around? Still, the data suggests tracking sleep regularity could help identify people at risk of disease and where health disparities may impact specific groups, such as African Americans. Heart disease and diabetes are extremely common in the U.S., are extremely costly, and also leading cause of death in this country. To the extent which we can predict individuals at risk of these diseases, we may be able to prevent or delay their onset. Participants use devices that track their sleep schedules down to the minute, so researchers could learn whether even subtle changes, going to bed at 10:10 instead of the usual 10, were linked to the health of the participants. Their ages ranged from 54 to 93, and people with diagnosed sleep disorders, such as sleep apnea, were not included. So that's, that makes sense. You don't want that to be a wrench in the study. The study also tracked the duration of participants' sleep and preferred timing, whether someone turned in early or was a night owl. According to these measures, people with hypertension tended to sleep more hours, and people with obesity tended to stay up later. Of all three measures, however, regularity was the best at predicting someone's heart and metabolic disease risk, the research found. Okay. I'm just going to skip over a little bit. Perhaps there's something about obesity that disrupts sleep regularity. I think that's pretty fair because people who are obese tend to have sleep apnea. I know they said that they ruled that out and that they didn't include that, but I mean, if it leads to sleep apnea, who knows what else it could be doing to the body. Or as some research suggested, perhaps poor sleep interferes with the body's metabolism, which can lead to weight gain. It's a vicious cycle. That's true. It's like a chicken and egg scenario. With more research, we hope to understand what's going on biologically, and perhaps we could say what's coming first, which is the chicken and which is the egg. That's funny that they referenced that because that's just what I said. Yeah, and then it talks about all their sources, blah, blah, blah. Not important. Okay. So that's kind of interesting. It didn't really go the way that I was expecting it to, but they did play devil's advocate, which I appreciated. I think that sleep is extremely important. I think that if you feel rested, you have energy, and if you have energy, you're more willing to live healthier lifestyles, right? If you're up late, you're going to be snacking naturally. You have the Doritos and the pop, and nobody ever wakes up in the middle of the night or late night munchies and craves carrot sticks or, all brand fiber cereal. Nobody does that. People go for the cheese sandwiches or the chips, popcorn. I don't know why I said cheese sandwiches. I guess I'm hungry. But they tend to pick junk food. So that's one possibility, and that's just another person's opinion, and that's just another possible effect. So what do you guys think? Is it chicken or egg? Is it a little bit of both? I'm sort of in the column that it's both, right? I think some people who have poor health often stay up late, and then maybe it kind of affects, and then it makes it so you can't go to bed early. Anyway, it's so important to take care of yourself because it's about quality of life, right? You might have to make those subtle changes and lose the fact that you can't go to bed too late and that you have to stick to your sleep schedule. But if it's better for your overall health, then I think it's worth it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Kind of a short episode, but again, we're trying to just sort of figure this thing out, and we enjoy making these videos. It's sort of a quick and easy with getting a lot of information and my opinion. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comment below, the comment section below, what you think of these articles. And if you have any other articles that you want us to go through, send a link. We have the Twitters and everything like that. So yeah, so tweet at us, comment, like, share. If you have any suggestions for the names, I have a few suggestions in mind. And as of right now, we're only on YouTube. We haven't went to any other platforms yet. But again, we're just sort of trying to build a following right now. So we're going to stick to YouTube for now. Again, like, comment, subscribe, share, and more importantly, I guess, have a great day.